Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Neon, and we're going to talk about Star Wars Episode 9, everybody's favorite topic. Well, actually, what I'm going to talk about is how we're only a few days into the new year, and already a case is being built against the Star Wars fandom as to why they are awful people and why you need to go see episode 9. So, I'm actually going to lead with a story in IO9 about Ahmed Best. I think we talked about this before. Ahmed Best, who opened up over the summer and admitted that he had actually thought about harming himself because of the backlash against Jar Binks. Absolutely terrible what he went through. It was heartbreaking to hear that. That was in the summer. Now, some of these pop culture media outlets are starting to dig the story up again. We're talking the story is like 6 or 8 months old. They're digging it up again now at the beginning of the year, I think, to preemptively attack the fandom, to sort of brace themselves for what is sure to be a lot of backlash this year over Star Wars Episode 9. And I think it's really, really shitty to use Ahmed Best, who seems like a really good guy. Actually, I've watched interviews with him. He seems like a really good guy, to use his tragedy as a blunt instrument against Star Wars fans, or quote unquote the haters. So this is coming from IO9 again. I'm not going to read the whole thing because, again, this is an old story. This is nothing new. And they even admit, last summer, actor Ahmed Best, who portrayed Jar Binks in The Phantom Menace, took to his Twitter account to reflect on the movie's upcoming 20th anniversary. But that remembrance include how fans' vitriolic backlash to his performance nearly drove him to kill himself. Now, I want to jump in here really quick, and we talk about the media. And I think the media is misremembering the situation somewhat. Fans were upset about Jar Binks. This is true. A lot of fans did not like Jar Binks. But I also remember many news outlets talking about how disgusting the Jar Binks character was because he was a racial stereotype and basically throwing fuel on the fire. So back then, it was cool to bash on Star Wars, I guess. And now if you bash on Star Wars, you're going to go dig up Jar Binks, and use him to attack detractors from The Last Jedi. Very odd. But again, this is IO9. I wouldn't expect anything less from IO9. So it talks about Ahmed Best's situation, which again is really heartbreaking. I saw an interview with him. It was on some guy's Skype channel, and he opened up about the part, and he just seemed like a very genuine guy. He was really excited to be part of Star Wars, and he had some anecdotes about how Michael Jackson was giving him the stink eye because Michael Jackson wanted to be Jar Binks, and George Lucas, he gave George Lucas a choice of like 20 different voices, and that's the one he picked. That was the one that George Lucas picked. But so they go through and they talk about Ahmed Best, and then the very last paragraph. Okay, so you want to know why they ran this again? This is basically a caution to the fandom. In the years since Best's issues with Star Wars, similar incidents have driven other actors involved with the movies like Kelly Marie Tran and Daisy Ridley to take measures to protect themselves against those who feel that their love of the franchise justifies their desire to harass people. I'm not completely sure on what happened with Kelly Marie Tran. I've heard different stories. I would have to look into that more. Hopefully, Best speaking out and letting others understand that the people who bring these characters to life are in fact people themselves, whose humanity deserves respect and will make a positive impact. If you struggle with suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Okay, so I'm not laughing at all at anybody having any kind of thoughts of self-harm. Believe me, I'm not laughing. I can't believe how blatant this is. I mean, they're basically, again, digging up a story they already covered 6 or 8 months ago to essentially tell the fandom at the start of January 2019, this is the big year for Star Wars, and you better not harass any Star Wars stars, or they might think about self-harm. Already, it started. This is a very correct headline. This is coming from International Business Times. Star Wars Episode 9 will determine the future of the franchise. This is why you are going to see the friendly media. You're going to see the Last Jedi defenders attack the fandom like never before this year. I think 2018 was nothing compared to the ridiculous stories we are going to see this year, because yes, Episode 9 is absolutely going to determine the future of the franchise and the fate of the franchise. If Episode 9 misfires, then the sequels are going to be remembered as the trilogy that effectively killed Star Wars. And, Disney does not want to take that chance. And, all of the friendly media are going to do their part to make sure that Star Wars fans know that dissent will not be tolerated at all. Again, coming from International Business Times, who actually spells it out very correctly. I read through this article earlier today, and they spell this out very correctly. The situation is much more dire. The stakes are much higher than what a lot of these friendly media outlets would have you believe. A lot is at stake when it comes to Star Wars Episode 9. The success or failure of the film will determine the future of the franchise, along with some of the products that are currently being planned. While there's a lot of content that is being developed, the flagship of the franchise at the moment is the main Skywalker Solo saga in the movies. Remember, Bob Iger came in and basically said, hey, we're not going to do any more side stories because Solo was a flop. Everything at this point with Star Wars is pretty much contingent on what happens with Star Wars Episode 9. If J.J. Abrams cannot pull off a miracle and go out on a high note, then what does that mean for the Star Wars franchise? Is it going to be relegated to direct-to-streaming movies and bad cartoon series, from now until for the next 20 years? I mean, who knows? The future looked uncertain after The Last Jedi got mixed responses from fans, and Solo failed to perform at the box office. Again, they're spelling it out. They're not mincing words. Solo failed at the box office. A report by Forbes hinted that the release day of Solo being one of the possible reasons why the film didn't do so well. No, people just weren't interested. I mean, Star Wars, look, they're like, oh, it came out in May. I'm like, you know what? Prior to The Force Awakens, every other Star Wars movie came out in May, and they did just fine. Nobody wanted Solo. Nobody was interested in another Star Wars movie after The Last Jedi. It killed off a lot of enthusiasm for the franchise, and for some reason, they just, Lucasfilm won't fess up. They won't admit that they made a mistake. They think that there is nothing wrong with New Coke. However, the report goes on to conclude that this was a right move by Disney because Mary Poppins is doing well thanks to the Christmas release date. Actually, Mary Poppins isn't doing as well as I think they wanted it to. What about the future? The report suggested that the franchise will be fine as long as Star Wars Episode 9 becomes a big hit. The report noted that Disney will also have to figure out what needs to be done after the Skywalker storyline ends with the new trilogy. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with Star Wars after that? I mean, they've tried spin-offs, they've tried these cartoon shows. I have zero excitement for any of the streaming shows coming up. The only thing I'm excited about in regards to Star Wars at this point is Galaxy's Edge, because I'm a theme park nut. And that is really it. That is the only interest I have in anything Star Wars at this point. And I was a massive, massive Star Wars fan. And it wasn't even the Last Jedi that killed off my enthusiasm. It was watching the people behind the movie and watching media outlets constantly attack the fandom and come up with more and more ridiculous reasons as to why people hated The Last Jedi, that there has to be something wrong with the fans, that they have to be misogynist, that they're Russian bots. I mean, they keep reaching and reaching. They cannot accept that people simply didn't like the movie for very valid reasons. It blows my mind. I've never seen anything like it. At the moment, Disney has planned at least 2 live-action spin-off TV series that are based on the fictitious Star Wars galaxy. The Mandalorian, which looks like Boba Fett light, might be okay. I really don't have any interest in it though. The other one is the Rogue One spinoff. Again, I don't have any interest in that. I liked K2, but I don't even know if he'll be in the series because he's probably really expensive to render. Who knows? According to Twitter, according to a Twitter post by Production Weekly, the live-action series of Cassian Andor will begin filming in October. More details about the plot and the casting are expected in the coming weeks and months. Does anybody actually want this? I don't know if anybody wants this. Disney's already planning ahead. The company is developing another movie trilogy that will be separate from the ongoing Skywalker saga. Rolling Stone reported in 2018 that the Game of Thrones creators have signed to work on that trilogy. Rian Johnson was supposed to direct the next Skywalker trilogy. However, after the huge fan backlash, it remains to be seen if Disney will just give him a chance or look for another director to appease the fans. I think at this point, bringing Rian Johnson back in would be just absolute suicide for the franchise. I mean, he is hands down. Rian Johnson is more divisive than Jar Binks. Bringing him back in would be a terrible mistake from a PR standpoint. The fans just absolutely loathe him, and they loathe how he interacted with fans, calling them names, and it was a messy situation. Star Wars Episode 9 continues to be one of the most highly anticipated films of 2019. It didn't even make our list. I have zero interest. Filming is currently ongoing with J.J. Abrams at the helm. The movie is set to be released on December 20th. December 20th in the U.S. So they're already starting. To promote Episode 9, and like I said, you're gonna see promotion, the likes of which you have never seen before. Because I think at this point, Lucasfilm, Disney, they're fighting for the long-term viability of Star Wars. And it's not just Episode 9, supposedly the last movie that features the Skywalker family, but it's also Galaxy's Edge. Again, the big theme park expansion. It's going to be in both parks. It's going to be in Disneyland and Disney World. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this because, again, this is something I can enjoy even if I hate the movies. Because I don't like Avatar, but I actually like Pandora. The rides are pretty good. I like a good ride. It doesn't matter what it's based on. I like a good theme park ride, and I think people are going to go to this regardless of how they feel about the movies. I mean, they had Star Tours at both parks for years. With no movie to support Star Tours, and people still rode it just because it was a ride and it was cool. But they're already, counting down to Star Tours. Now, the Falcon supposedly is going to wind up parked on Batuu permanently, and that ties into Galaxy's Edge with the Falcon ride is just kind of sitting on Batuu, but they've already got a new book out. They just announced it on StarWars.com. It is called Pirate's Price, Flight of the Falcon. So apparently you can track it's kind of a spoiler for Episode 9, but you can actually track the journey of the Millennium Falcon from Corellia through Kessel, Tatooine, Yavin, Hoth, Bespin, and then we get to Takodana. It goes to Jakku, takes a detour, Starkiller Base, Ahch-To, Crate, and then they're going to park it on Batuu. So obviously this Batuu planet is probably going to feature heavily in Episode 9, if I had to guess. And then, of course, unsurprisingly, they're going to tie the theme park expansion into the movie. That's just kind of how Disney works, with the synergy. But again, working within those constraints, I don't know, since it seems like they're almost writing the movie to fit the theme park. I don't know how that's going to go, and I don't know how it's going to go that they are using leftover footage of Carrie Fisher. Again, she's already said her lines. They're going to have to take what she has said on film, and they're going to have to make it work within the constraints of the storyline. So I don't know how it's going to work. So I guess my thought in all of this, Star Wars fans, get ready for a lot of abuse from pop culture media, because it's definitely coming this year. It is coming this year because Lucasfilm cannot afford for Episode 9 to be a bomb. So they are going to attack anyone who thinks badly of the Star Wars franchise, again, because they cannot stand the thought of it being another Solo. So, you know, we're gonna have a lot of videos to make. I think we're gonna have a lot of videos to make this year. So comment below, let me know your thoughts. Are you actually looking forward to episode 9? You know, have you seen any other articles out there that seem like, I mean, here we are a couple days into January, and we've already, you know, seen some questionable articles that are sort of getting ready. I think they're getting ready to pounce on the fans. So we'll see how that goes. Please subscribe to CLOWNFISH TV for more pop culture news, rants, art videos, gaming videos, and more. This has been Neon. I will talk to you later.